What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time to take back the power. What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time to take back the power. What you gonna do when the
Hello, this is Matt Bergman. I am here today with Jared Schneiderman and Jeff Siegel. And you are listening to the Punk Rock Libertarians podcast, episode 2. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Awesome.
Cool. So yeah, we're just gonna do a little bit of talking about the stuff that's been going on this week in the news. Did you guys hear about one of the guys that Suge Knight hit? You know, the one guy he allegedly killed. Well, I should say allegedly hit. The one guy he killed. And the other guy is still alive, but the other guy has said that he will not, quote, snitch on Suge Knight in court. So what do you guys think about that? Is it, and more so what I'm asking is it libertarian to snitch?
I mean, I think like in just purely from an ethical standpoint, if it's, if you know somebody murdered somebody, it's wrong to keep that a secret. I mean, if you know for a fact, you witnessed it, you know that's the guy, I don't think it's wrong to snitch. I mean, clearly this guy is scared for his life. That's the only thing I can think of why he wouldn't want to.
Dude, what if he was just trying to keep it straight G?
That's always a possibility, man.
In court, you know?
Yeah.
You're right, though. I mean, he's not going to... It's easy for us, for anyone to sit back and judge, but you know as well as I do that if he snitches...
Oh, I'm not judging.
Well, I'm not saying you're judging, but people in general...
Dude,
people
you implied I was judging.
What's that? Well, people would judge, and they'll say, "Oh, well, it's not ethical, for you to keep that to yourself." But I mean, if I saw that happen, I don't know what I'd do because I know that Suge Knight scares me, and I don't want to get
He's
killed.
a powerful man.
And
How do you feel about judgers?
Judgers?
What about judges?
So so you're saying like some people are gonna want to judge this dude?
I don't really care. I'm just...
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, but as a libertarian though, should one be against snitching? Like, okay, so like if you're a libertarian in the 100% like truest form of the word, which that leads to inevitably no government whatsoever.
Right.
Like, if you're an anarchist or like a voluntarist, would it be morally ethical to snitch under any circumstances?
Well, I mean, so you're talking there's like private court systems and private justice systems and all that?
No, well, say you are living in this system, and if you believe that the whole system is, kind of just run off of force.
Yeah.
And you don't want to take part in it at all. I mean, just say. I mean, obviously.
I mean, I think, yeah. I
like,
get what you're saying.
To the point where, like, you wouldn't even vote,
Right. If, you just don't want to participate at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's one vantage point to look at it, but then, I mean, if you know this guy murdered somebody, you don't want this guy walking around on the streets, do you?
Yeah.
I mean, so, unfortunately, the only way you have to get this guy off the streets...
But idealistically, you wouldn't want to use a state. But what you're saying is, I think,
that's your only
practically,
option. Yeah.
Practically, it oftentimes might be the only thing that you can do, unless you go like Charles Bronson death wish on somebody.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be pretty libertarian. Like,
it's vigilante justice.
Yeah. Well, you could say in absence of the state, how would you find justice?
In absence of the state, how would you find justice?
In this situation,
how would you find food?
No. In this situation, though, in absence of the police, and justice needs to be served, how would that be done? Dude, and I'm asking the question because I don't know.
I already said Charles Bronson death. So I mean, you could probably do that.
I mean, that's a very complicated answer where you're getting into private security firms and private justice systems, and I mean...
David Friedman speaks pretty interestingly on the topic, like about how you could possibly do all those things without a government.
But, I mean, in regards to just snitching, I mean, if we're talking like there's, everything's privatized, whatever, I don't think it's wrong to snitch on somebody. I think the issue arises because most of snitching, or a lot of snitching, is done on like non-violent crimes, like drug-related crimes.
Yeah. Well, totally. I mean, of course, I always like to make the argument that, basically we live under all these fucked up laws, and it's every law is basically an opinion with a gun. So I look at it like, would I want to? Okay, say in a world where there was no government, any crime, quote unquote crime that anybody would do, what would justify force? If my neighbor's doing heroin in his home, does that justify me kicking down the door and kidnapping him and then bringing him over to my house and chaining him up in my basement for a period of time?
Sounds kinky, dude.
Yeah, that doesn't justify that. That seems like it would be fucking crazy. So why isn't it just as crazy to pay government goons to do the same thing?
Right.
So I that's how I like to look at it. Like any law, it would have to justify force, and many laws today don't. They would, like, as you can see, it would be insane to think about an individual enforcing this law on his own. But when government does it, it becomes magically moral.
Well, when you think about it too, we talk about justice. I would imagine that it's possible to say this whole like not snitching idea isn't really about like don't snitch on this guy because he'll kill you or whatever, but more along the lines of what happens when you snitch and someone goes to jail. Is justice served? Like you said, I mean, if you snitch on the drug dealer down
Justice
the street,
is served in the rape cage.
but seriously, if you snitch on the drug dealer down the street, what's going to happen? I mean, he's going to go to jail. Is he going to? There's so many things that could happen wrong that's already in the justice system. So maybe it's like, well, don't snitch because it's just going to make it fucking worse.
Well, yeah,
And then
the
whenever you
the
talk
risk
about
reward ratio just isn't there. I mean, so what? You snitch on a drug dealer in an area. And then what happens? Another drug dealer is just going to come and take his place. You haven't solved the problem.
Don't you feel like when you talk to people about this, people who are like kind of pro drug war, and you talk to them? But I don't know. I've had it recently, and it kind of bothered me. I was telling somebody just about all these people in jail for drugs. Like over half the people that are in prison are in there for victimless, nonviolent drug crimes. So and then I was talking to this lady, and her response was, well, they're going to commit other crimes anyway, so if we can get them for that, it was just like, wow,
that's some pre-crime shit.
What a bullshit bullshit argument.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, yeah, I mean that's an argument that never took much thought. Those are the kind of people that they just eat up everything that they're told. So certainly like they'll watch a police drama on TV and they'll see like somebody going into somebody's house without a warrant and like busting up the house or something and be like, yeah, that's what you gotta do. Yeah. You gotta get them, Yeah. That's the only way you're gonna catch them in action.
America.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, man.
Do you guys think we have enough cop shows on TV?
No, we need more.
Dude, there's like a new fucking one every season.
But you know what? Listen, if half the cops look like they did on those shows, I probably wouldn't be really anti-cop as much as I am. Some fucking hot girls on those shows, man. And you never see it. And I love when they have like the women cops in the heels and they're like running in their heels. I'm like, yeah, that happens.
And they also seem to have relatively high IQs.
Yeah, they're
which
really
is not indicative of reality.
Word. Yes. So I don't know, but we'll just kind of stay on the topic. Have you guys ever seen Death Wish 3 with Charles Bronson? You have?
I know I've seen one of the Death Wishes. I don't
but
think I've
no,
seen
man. The question is, have you seen Death Wish 3?
Okay.
No,
I don't think so.
I don't know, Jeff. Dude, for me, out of every movie in that series, like the first one had the serious thing going on because it was the first one, and then the second one got like a little bit ridiculous, and then the third one it was just like all out bananas, dude. It was like, it was just like a war on city blocks. Everybody was fighting.
It was so great. In 1996, I actually did some tracks for these rappers in downtown.
And you were like, sucking dicks in 96?
That's exactly what I was like. And I sampled a couple of things from Death Wish 3 because it was just so over the top.
Oh man,
that's awesome.
I'm gonna bring it. I'm gonna bring it next time so you can hear it. There's some
Dude,
funny stuff.
We'll make that our intro music.
Yeah, dude. And then, dude, Jared, you have to watch. We should all like watch Death Wish 3 this week, right? And just like talk about
Report
it next
back.
week. Just because it's so fun, and anybody listening should watch it this week too, because it is just such an awesome movie. It's totally cool.
Is it relevant to this podcast at all, though?
I don't know. I mean, it's a really awesome movie. I guess if you had to say it was relevant, you could say it's vigilante justice. It's Charles Bronson making justice without utilizing the state.
Right. Okay.
And he makes some sweet justice.
Yeah. I mean, you could say that, make that same argument about Dexter, right?
Ultimately, it's just a really cool, entertaining movie, though.
Yeah.
So cool. So So what else has been going on this week? Little J Bear.
All right. So there's this story.
Oh, before we start, can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
I think Suge Knight's innocent. I don't want to say anything bad about Suge Knight, and Suge Knight's awesome. Yeah,
Dude. Yeah. Hell yeah, man.
Yeah. This is all alleged.
So-
All allegedly.
got no problem with Suge Knight.
All right. Yeah. So we have a few articles that we wanted to bring up and discuss. The first one was first broke by benswan.com, and it's about this lady who is a cannabis oil activist, and her son, and this took place in Kansas. Her son went to like was in one of those like drug education classes that they put in school.
The ones where they try to scare you from
Yeah,
doing drugs.
like that dare bullshit. And
I remember
his mom. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I remember listening to Howard Stern years ago talking about that and say they bring the whole case in and shit like the fat joints in there and the pills and stuff.
Oh, yeah, I remember
and he was
that.
just like, yeah, he's like, that just made me want to do drugs.
Yeah, like, I want that Mickey Mouse pill. It looks dope.
Yeah.
So, because his mom was an activist, he knew like the real facts about marijuana, and he pointed these out. After that, he was arrested, and they sent cops to his mom's house. They showed up, and she was like, "You can't come in here without a warrant." So they waited 3 hours for a warrant, then came in, busted in, and found 2 ounces of cannabis oil in her house. She's concerned that the state's going to now attempt to take her son away, and she actually has a custody hearing on Monday. So, I mean, this is pretty fucked up, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's some pretty crazy shit, dude.
What was she doing with the oil again? What was you said she
She
was an activist.
she was and she was also treating her own Crohn's disease with it.
Oh, okay.
So that's probably why she possessed it. I mean,
Right.
it doesn't matter because
Yeah,
you should be able to possess it regardless. But
Well, wait. But in all fairness to the cops, I mean, she was self-medicating, so that's, that's not right?
Dude.
sarcasm.
She's trying to take
right
care of
when
things
you said
herself.
it, in all fairness to the cops, I'm like, I'm about to call bullshit. I'm just like, but yeah, man, it's I think it's pretty muffed up. I think it's kind of like a free speech issue too, because this kid was just just kind of like speaking philosophy in school,
Yeah.
just speaking some thoughts in school.
And how does
then,
that?
Inevitably his mom's house gets raided.
Yeah, I mean, how does that give you any probable cause? I mean, I don't know that it doesn't say whether he said like, "Oh yeah, my mom has some cannabis oil in her house," but I mean, either
Mom was
way.
getting high as fuck.
But I mean, from what it sounds like, he was just talking about it and just trying to, give everybody the actual facts, and they took that as probable cause to just break into someone's house and steal their shit.
Who snitched? Was it
Yeah, who
was it
snitched?
the teacher? I mean, because I mean,
I don't think the article said that much.
They got
Sure.
it right here.
'Cause
But
if the cop-
maybe they did.
if the cops really wanted to, bust people, like bust parents for possessing
It says-
drugs, I mean, I'm sure they could just look at the parents and be like, well, that person probably gets high, so I'm gonna go to their house. I mean,
it says the school. It says at the event, Banda's son apparently contradicted some of the claims made about marijuana. The school then contacted the Child Protection Agency, which then contacted the police.
wow.
That's crazy.
Nice.
So I wonder, like, if back in the day, like, if kids were in school in the Middle Ages, and they said, "Yeah, I heard that if you put leeches on your balls, it'll make your blue balls go away. And then they like bust it in like, "Who got fucking leeches in here?"
Who knows, man?
There's a lot of stuff like that you hear about parents that need to get their kids treated, and they have to go to different states, in order to make sure that their kids can survive or be healthy, and just like the ethics of that are just mind blowing,
Totally.
I mean, even you guys know that I do investment analysis, and that's what I do for a living, and typically I've always focused on renewable energy and organic food markets, and like really doing the kind of green markets, if you want to call it. But like really I look at ethical investments too, and like to me the whole like cannabis thing is an ethical investment. When you invest in that, that's, we were talking last week about that conference I'm going to. It's the same thing. It's like this is an ethical situation.
Mm-hmm.
Word.
Well, it's not just about like people just getting high or whatever. I just don't get that, man. I don't know how any person could sit and look at a sick kid and be like, nah, you shouldn't be doing that because someone decided you shouldn't. And the someone, I'm sure you guys know the history of I forgot the guy's name, the guy that started the whole drug war, fucking racist fuck.
Was that Hearst?
Al Sharpton.
No, it was Hearst's friend. Hearst was worked with this guy.
Right. Okay.
He was like the first drug czar or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can bring it next time we come in, the whole history of that guy is amazing. I mean, he essentially just hated black people and was looking for a way to like fuck them over, and that's really where the whole thing started. But yeah, I mean, it's like when I just feel so bad for these people that need this medication, and even now can't get it. I know plenty of people that are on all kinds of anti-anxiety meds, and I know if they just
if they just smoked a little
they
weed,
could just smoked a little weed, or even just ate it, or had it any way they could get it,
right?
Pill form or whatever. Probably be a lot healthier for them, and they wouldn't get addicted to this stuff.
It's kind of amazing too that that's happening like in this day and age, with all the talk about legalization. And, the majority of people have been polled to be in favor of legalization. Mm-hmm. And, this lady's just taking this stuff medicinally, right?
I mean,
from
according to the article, yeah. I mean, because why would she be?
Well, she said she was using it for Crohn's disease.
Right, for Crohn's disease.
I think as time goes by, it just gets crazier and crazier every time you hear a story like this. Because it's like, come on, haven't enough people woken up yet?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really just kind of shows you how much further we really need to
violence.
go.
Who would feel morally justifiable kicking in this woman's door and taking away her child?
Right.
It's like you were saying last
throwing
week.
her in a rape cage.
That's like you were saying last week. Like when I was thinking about that, it's like again, I don't want to be overly critical of police officers or cops or whatever, but
bullshit.
but like you're right. Like who would take a job where they know that this is something they're going to have to do, and they would actually still do it?
Douchebag. Yeah. Totally, man.
Yeah, I feel bad for those kids, man, and the parents, because those parents are trying so hard to make sure that their kids have a good life, and heaven forbid they can take care of their own kids. It's just so fucked up. It just pisses me off, man.
Yeah. What about did you hear about I don't know, I forget where it was, but somewhere this week, apparently like these kids were taken away from their parents for a little bit, or because these parents were letting their kids like run around the playground by themselves.
I saw about that. Yeah,
I think they were like 12 and 6 or something, or maybe it was like 10 and 6.
It was 10 and 6,
it was like what, like a half a mile away from the house or something like that.
But I'm just thinking about this. Why is this ridiculous? You know what I mean? Why is this ridiculous for you to let your kid run by yourself? Mm-hmm. The only reason that I can think it's ridiculous is that there's some sick fucking people running around out there.
But the amount of those sick fucking people is drastically overplayed by the media.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And if you educate your kid how to, avoid those situations,
I would
you can eliminate, 95% of the risk.
There's so many variables in that. I mean, it depends like on how responsible the kids are, how grown up those kids are, where they live. I mean, certain places you don't want your 6-year-old and 10-year-old walk around.
You don't want them.
Plenty of places doesn't matter. I mean, there's kids that are like 10 years old that I see walking around where I live all the time in Baltimore, and it's like not the safest place in the world, but I mean, it's safe enough. Like no one in our neighborhood's calling the cops because they see a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old walking down the street. They're probably coming in from school, or they're getting off the bus. There's a lot of variables, but well, here's the interesting thing: a woman called the cops about it because she was worried about these kids. So I'm not upset with the woman because she was just worried about the kids. The problem is her immediate response was, and she's been, conditioned to do
yeah.
this, is to call the police.
Right.
Instead of
like going out and talking to the kids,
and saying, yeah, do you need any help? Are your parents around?
Right.
Do something like that?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the immediate, and of course, once the police get involved, it just turns into this big bureaucratic nightmare, and Child Protective Services gets involved. Everybody with an opinion, jumps online, and it's pretty crazy, man. We keep going back to that same point. It's like as soon as you involve the government, shit gets crazy.
Yeah.
How easy would it have been for that
specifically
woman
in this case, people just become overly reliant on the government instead of solving it through more communal means, or just taking their own responsibility and saying, okay, I see these kids are walking. Maybe they're just going out to play. Maybe they're lost. All I have to do is go up and talk to them, find out what's going on.
Right.
And, we can get to the bottom of this. There's no need to call the cops. But unfortunately, yeah, we've been conditioned to, the moment something goes wrong, get the cops on the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem is oftentimes when you call them, somebody ends up dying.
Right.
It's like, people like, I don't know, it drives me nuts when like somebody calls the cops because they're having problems with their kids. And the cops come and they shoot the kids, and it's like, well, yeah, you shouldn't have called the cops for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
oh yeah,
like the mom will be crying, like, I can't believe this. It's like, what are you talking about? How many times have you seen this happen on the news?
Yeah.
It's, I don't know. It's like you'd have to be crazy,
or just ignorant.
Yeah, it's just it just seems insane.
There's sorry, I just had a brain fart. Yeah, and I think it's hard for parents too, because I've heard some of those 911 calls, like you were just talking about, with they're like, oh, my son's gone crazy and he's punching walls and all this stuff. What do you do in that situation? If you can't control your kid, if your kid's bigger than you, what options do you have? And my first response is, the last thing to do is call the cops. But
exactly.
I mean, it's
it's
certainly a last resort. I mean, if it's completely out of control and your life is in danger, I mean, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna like shoot your own kids, right? I mean, it's not like if someone breaks into your house, like you can defend yourself. But if it's your own kid, like you want someone in there that is stronger than you and can incapacitate your kid enough to like subdue them enough. So I mean, I think there are cases where that may be the only option, unfortunately. But I mean, how many of them is it just it's their first option? I mean, I know I've seen like episodes of Cops where like they call the cops and it's just like the kid didn't want to like eat their fucking vegetables. It's like really like
yeah, that shit's But if it's a danger, like you said, it's a dangerous situation. I think I just came up with the solution though: tranquilizer guns. Every parent should have a tranquilizer gun.
Totally.
A nice elephant
and good aim,
Yeah. Oh man.
Matt, do you want to talk about this TSA shit?
Yeah. Where did that happen at again?
Let's see. Denver International Airport.
Yeah. So what was the deal exactly here? Like basically, some of the screeners would basically want to grab like hot dudes' junk. So like they would purposely grope hot dudes.
It was actually well, according to this, it was a man and a woman working in tandem to facilitate the improper touching of male passengers. So yeah, basically when the dude spotted a guy that he thought was hot, he would tell the female employee to indicate to the scanning computer that the party being screened is a female.
How do you put that in the computer?
Yeah.
What's the note?
So yeah,
3 o'clock. Okay,
this is interesting. So by entering the wrong section of the computer, the scanning machine will indicate an anomaly in the genital area. Because not supposed to be a dick there. That's hilarious. But also really fucked up.
Man, I'm gonna be in Denver this week. I wonder if I can like request those TSA agents. I'd love to get felt up before I get on the plane.
Take some Viagra, like a little bit before.
I think I heard a story of somebody doing that.
Just oh really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I might have heard that too.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, it's just more TSA bullshit, you know.
Either that or take something that's going to give you diarrhea, and then they go up and like start
And
grabbing your
start shitting
junk
on
and
them.
just shit all over the place.
Like, do you think there'll ever be an end to the TSA? Because, like, from what I've heard, the TSA has still not apprehended one single terrorist, not one. And what they've been around for like, I guess this is like almost like 14 years now.
Yeah.
And then they haven't caught one terrorist. And last I heard, this is might have been a couple years ago too, so it might be more now. But there was over 400 TSA officers arrested for theft. 400. So it's like, you know, they haven't been proven to catch a terrorist, but they've been proven to commit 400 cases of theft. You know, and these are just the guys who got caught.
Yeah.
Imagine how many people, like, you know, they get off the plane and something's missing and they're like, oh, well, maybe I left it at home.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or
I mean,
they just don't bother to
play a
report
slight devil's advocate. You also don't know how many would-be terrorists that it's been deterred. But I mean, I still don't think it justifies, and especially when you have like all these people that are basically just like criminals working for the TSA. You know.
I gotta be honest. I mean, I go through those things. I don't really like going through them, but I mean, I don't really lose any sleep over it. It doesn't really bother me. I don't really feel like I'm being fondled or, you know. And I've been patted down and stuff. I mean, again, it's like it's not something I enjoy, but again, I'm not gonna fucking lose sleep over it.
I think for like the average person, it's not that big of a deal. But then you have these cases where it's like some kid is coming in on a fucking wheelchair. And they gotta like take him out of the chair, sit him on the ground, and like tear apart his wheelchair to make sure he's not smuggling cocaine through. It's like that's totally ridiculous.
I don't know. I mean, like, dude, I think this is just like total fucking bullshit. Because I mean, dude, nobody was groping you for years and years and years, and you know, finally something happens. You know, I'm not so sure that if people wanted to get aboard planes and pull another 9/11 now that they couldn't be stopped.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not sure that the TSA could stop them, and the TSA hasn't been proven to stop one terrorist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, I don't know. I'm not really scared of the terrorist. Basically, it's you know, I'm more scared of my government.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't like being felt up by you know, people who I haven't asked to fill me up. You know?
Yeah. sort of a side story to that. I went to the O's game last Friday, and there was they put in like metal detectors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I'm okay with metal detectors. I mean, you know, honestly, I don't want somebody going into Oriole Stadium with a gun, you know? I mean, I'm all for open carry and all that shit, but I don't think, you know, if stadiums were completely privatized, I think they should not allow people to carry guns, you know, in a free society.
Why?
I mean, why should they?
Well, I mean, it just goes back to the question of okay, so if you say there's no guns in here, you know, that's going to deter everybody from bringing a gun in there. And if you say there's no guns in there, it's basically
then it's a gun-free zone and it's sitting ducks.
If one person gets in there with a gun, you know, shit's fucked. So I don't know, man. It's like I don't know. I think we're libertarians, and I think part of us being libertarian, I think to an extent, like we believe in people. We believe that people can get things done without a state. So I think we believe that you know.
But at the same time,
I think we believe in the very least that more people are good than bad.
Right.
And I think we believe that.
Yeah. I mean, so anyways, that wasn't really the point I was trying to get at. What I was really trying to get at is, do you guys see that sort of as like a gradual step? Like, do you think they'll get to the point where like you got to go through one of those full body X-ray machines to get into Oriole Stadium, or they'll start randomly profiling people and screening like individuals that look shady?
I think that's inevitable.
You know what I mean? So, and that's where, you know, even if you're saying, okay, yeah, I don't really want guns in the stadium, this to me just seems like one of those gradual measures, you know, and then once they get the people used to this, then they just start bringing in extra shit, and then before you know it, it's like, you know,
fucking Nazi Germany and shit. You gotta show your fucking papers.
Yeah.
Or your testicles at the airport. Yeah, man. I don't know. I just don't like the idea of being groped, and I don't think that these are like professional people. They're not catching terrorists. But I don't care. I don't care if you've got the smartest guy from the TSA on the groping. I mean, from the CIA on the groping job. Like, I don't want people feeling my nuts at the fucking airport.
Yeah.
Well, what about when you go to a show? Haven't you ever been patted down at a show, like going to see a show? I know I have.
You know, I'm not a fan of that either.
I don't know about
You know?
grabbing my nuts.
Well, I mean, they still pat me down. I mean,
they pat
I think
down, like,
TSA
your
is just like
pockets.
fucking like grabbing everybody's nuts all the time. But
Dude, there's 2 pictures in this article, man.
yeah, well, that's because those particular eyes really work.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that article. I'm not a fan of that either. And you know, I would have nothing against like you know, like say if like Southwest Airlines wants to start groping all their passengers. And then okay, excuse me, bros. So sweet belch. But okay, say like Southwest Airlines wants to start groping all their passengers, right? And Jeff's like, "Oh, cool, I want to be groped," you know, or Jared's like, "Oh, I want to be safe." So the groping doesn't bother me. It's like, you know, you guys can go to that airline and that's fine, you know. But personally, I'm probably going to opt for this other airline that doesn't grope their passengers. And I think, you know, private security, like you don't have the fucking TSA at the punk club. You know, they're not the guys groping you. You know, that's the club enforcing their own security.
Right.
And I think they generally do that at shows that they think are going to be more likely to have some violence going on. You know?
So
they probably don't do that at Hall & Oates usually, you know?
yeah.
You know? I mean, I've had it done at like, you know, like rowdy or punk shows or whatever, you know?
Right.
Or if you just go to some club and
It's in a shady area.
or it's a bigger club and the band's a little more edgy, then maybe they might you know, be a little more likely to, you know, check everybody for whatever bowls or whatever knives.
Well, let me ask you this then: if it was if the airlines had their own version of the TSA, and they did all their own screening, would you be okay with that?
Well,
Well, that's kind of what we're saying is like,
yeah, dude. I mean, like
or what he was saying.
I mean, like if you knew that you could go on, say once again, say Southwest Airlines decides to have their own little version of the TSA,
Right.
and you know, people could opt to go with Southwest, or they could
Yeah.
opt to go with
You
another
let,
airline.
you let the
No, I know
market,
what
you
you
let
go
the
with
market
whichever one-
determine
Right.
what the best solution is.
Right.
Exactly.
No, I know what you're saying, but I'm specifically asking you if you say you wanted to get on. Let's say the TSA doesn't exist, okay, and every airline has their own security system, and you say, all right, well, I like Southwest because you know they hassle me less than anybody else. Is that the one you're going to go with?
I mean, I don't know. I guess I would have to be in that system, and I'd have to, you know, hear from my friends, like, you know, which airline that they like dealing with the best. Like, personally, I fucking like hate flying. It has to be something like really cool to make me want to fly. You know, like I do not dig airports, and the TSA has made it that much worse.
Right.
And I don't know. So
Another reason legalization should exist, because if you could just, you know,
Legalization.
yeah, just get a little high before you get on the
Oh,
plane,
yeah.
it'll make the whole experience a lot more pleasant.
yeah,
I don't know, man. Depends on how high you are.
I don't know, man. I think it might be chill.
Yeah. Well,
I
that's a
guess
good.
You don't want to be
yeah.
too.
Yeah, you don't want to be
You don't wanna be
having a
like-
panic attack
yeah.
in the middle of, you know, several thousand feet in the air.
Excuse me.
Speaking of flying, I'm actually been writing a series of articles on Cuba lately, and I'm going to Cuba in the fall. So I'm looking forward to that. But I it's funny. I've been writing these articles, and I actually guess what's that called? I keep forgetting what the fuck they're called. The people that follow you on Twitter and stuff and hassle you.
Followers?
Trolls.
Oh, trolls,
So like I don't
okay.
usually get trolls.
They're on Facebook too.
Yeah, on Facebook.
What's a troll?
Yeah, but Jared, can you explain what a troll is
Yeah. No.
before you go any further?
Yeah, we all know what
People
trolls
don't
are.
know what a troll is.
If anybody doesn't, I don't know.
Yeah,
But basically, people that just you know, just like if you post something, they'll just comment on it and argue with you, basically just for the sake of arguing, not really to, you know, have like a formal debate or anything. They're just trying to just piss you off.
Yeah, I think it's usually people that are, you know, like the page is entitled Punk Rock Libertarians. And there's usually people that are obviously not punk rock or libertarian or both or one.
Yeah, and they'll just go on a spree where they
Yeah.
post on every article in a day.
Yeah,
Okay.
every article they've got to be contrarian on.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, if you disagree with us like this much of the time, like why are you still here?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad they're still here because honestly, I've seen some of those people kind of come around away from the dark side of statism.
I mean, I'm not, I never suggest banning people.
Yeah, no.
Unless they're
I
posting,
don't
like,
suggest
spam
being
or-
a dick to them either. Like, I usually let them say what they want to say. If somebody wants to argue with them, fine.
It
Sometimes,
also helps our posts get more reach.
yeah, I mean, and sometimes I'll even catch myself arguing with them.
Yeah.
But usually when it's somebody that I see like every day commenting, I'm just like, whatever. Let other people argue with them. Yeah.
Well, I have a neutral and some woman. I don't know who she is. Obviously,
Is she hot?
No.
No.
Then-
Okay.
then, really, if she was hot, I'd probably be like, "Hey, I agree with you. You're awesome." So I wrote this recent article I did about Cuba and investing in Cuba, and so she responded saying that basically, if I didn't like the laws here, I should go and live in Cuba so I could see what it's really like to not have rights.
That's probably a good idea, though.
Yeah, I should. Yeah. And so my
bro.
initial response is like, well, maybe I live here and I'd like to help change some of these laws because I think these are horrible laws, which is I think a very rational response.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you were born here, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, you have the right to this place as much as anybody else.
Right, exactly.
Like a natural right.
But her immediate response is like, you don't like it, leave, kind of thing. It's like that was like something
Well,
like was
that's-
big in like the 50s. Like I like didn't think that really still existed. Like people were still like that. Like, oh, if you don't like it, you can get the hell out. That's like my dad's generation. But,
And unfortunately, I don't know. Who knows if people are ever going to stop saying that?
Yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah,
a
I
pretty
guess you're
common
right.
retort to any time you bring up like any issue.
Well, it was so stupid though because she's sitting there telling me that by supporting the lifting of the embargo or normalizing relations with Cuba, that I'm empowering Castro and communism. And I was like, actually, by investing in Cuba, I'm helping to empower the people of Cuba.
Right.
My
See,
idea is going there and a lot of
how ridiculous is that though? When you think about it, like, okay, all the fucked up things that have went on in this country since the beginning of the country. Like we allowed slavery. Women weren't allowed to vote. You could just run down a list of like fucked up things that have went down. And then, what if everybody who spoke out against it, the contrarians were like, oh, you don't like it, leave. And they were like, okay. We'd still have slavery. We'd still have slavery. Women couldn't vote. You might still have Japanese and internment camps from World War II. It's like, think about that. If you don't like it, leave.
The other part of that problem
like
is
a lot of cool changes have came about from people who didn't like what was going on.
Right.
And guess what? 20, 40 years later, everybody sees how ridiculous that shit was.
Right.
And I have a feeling, in 20 or 40 years, everybody's going to think the same thing about the war on drugs.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Whereas right now, I think more people are waking up than ever, but we're still sounding like pretty radical to some people. But I think in 20 or 40 years, we're the fucking trailblazers, dude.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's going to think that way. Why throw somebody in a cage for a substance?
Yeah.
For a victimless crime where they didn't hurt anybody.
Right. And going back to Cuba, it kind of highlights this issue where people conflate the government of an area with the people of that area.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you say, like, you want to have open trade with Cuba, you're not saying, like, you want to have open trade with Fidel Castro. You're saying that you want to have open trade with the industries and the people that live there.
Well, yeah, and she was saying something like, if we do business with them, like 96% of the revenue, which I'm sure is complete bullshit, would go to the Fidel Castro and not to the people. I'm sure. I mean, look,
Yeah.
I get what kind of government it is there, but first of all, it's not my country, so. That's the thing too. Like I hate when people say, "Oh, well, you're libertarian, so you should be against that." I'm like, "Well, I'm not in favor of communism, but it's not my country, so it's not up to me. Like that's not my business. Only thing I want to do is if I see an opportunity where I can help myself and help other people, why would I not take that?
Right.
I mean, I'm a big fan of coffee. I love coffee. I'm kind of a coffee snob. I roast my own coffee. I'm just really into coffee, and there's a huge opportunity for coffee exports in Cuba.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know this, but I think it was like in '96, Cuba had like the worst. Harvest of their coffee in history, and it's gone to shit, and Cuba had at one time had some of the best coffee in the world. So what a great opportunity now, because there's so many like high-end coffee drinkers in the United States to go back to these plantations, help these people revitalize them, do it right, and then export it and have an export market.
Right.
That way people here get to have something that they want, like me, because I'd love to have real Cuban coffee. Because you can have Cuban coffee, but it's not real. It's not really, the beans aren't from Cuba. Like Cuban coffee is actual like process as well. But I could have that. But at the same time, think about all those farmers in Cuba that are just like, well, fuck, I've had nothing for how long?
Yeah.
I can finally sell these beans to all these wealthy Americans, and everyone's fucking happy.
Right.
So I don't understand like how anyone could look at a situation like that and think, oh, well, you're helping to facilitate human rights violations. How do you come to that conclusion,
Yeah, meanwhile, the U.S. does deals with all sorts of like tyrannical regimes all
yeah.
over the world.
That's what Ron Paul was always saying, that we work with China all the time.
And we give them money.
Cuba is no fucking threat to us.
Yeah,
Cuba is
totally.
absolutely no fucking threat to us. And same with, I don't know. Again, like they said, 6 months ago they were harboring a terrorist from Venezuela. I'm like, okay, well, we have fucking tens of thousands of fucking terrorists in this country, and half of them are fucking working for you in DC. They're fucking terrorists. Seriously, like I don't. How many people those Venezuelan terrorists in Cuba are fucking bombing the shit out of innocent people in fucking Middle East? None.
Yep.
But I didn't say that to her because I think her head would have fucking exploded.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
It's usually best not to feed the trolls.
I had to feed her a little bit because I was so curious as to where she was coming from. I stopped talking to her when her tweets got really cryptic and I couldn't really understand what she was trying to get at. Something about, I guess the
That
U.S.
Valium was starting to kick in.
Yeah. Well, like the U.S. government, I guess, had money set aside to bring democracy to Cuba, and I was like, well, I don't agree with that. I'm like, I don't think the U.S. government should steal money from anybody to give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, they could put it to better uses. I'm like, well, how about they just don't steal from us? And then that brought a whole thing like, well, you have to. It was the whole, well, who's going to pay for the roads thing, And I'm just like, but I just put taxation equals theft, and that's all I put in there.
Travelers.
And then she just went. Then she just started putting all kind of cryptic letters and stuff. I was like, okay, I guess we're done now.
Yep. Yeah, we do know the trolls.
Yep. Even wrote a song about them.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
awesome.
Don't troll on the Libertarian punk rock page.
We'll put a link in the notes.
Nice. You should, yeah. Hey, I was just curious too, by the way. This whole thing is punk rock libertarians. Like, when did you guys what was the very first song that you heard that you were like, I fucking love this music?
Like as far as like punk rock?
Yeah.
I don't know. The first song that got me into like rock music period was like I don't know. Like when I was a kid, like I grew up on like Johnny Cash and like Hank Williams Sr., like old country music. Like I never cared for the newer stuff. And then the first time I heard Nirvana, like my friend was telling me about this band that was like really cool. And at that point, like I hated rock music because I just knew like the rock stereotype of like the 80s where you've got all these like
the glam stuff.
Yeah, the glam stuff, like guys wearing like makeup, long hair, dying of heroin overdoses.
Right.
You know what I mean? It just seemed like really lame to me. Like these guys look like idiots. And then Kurt Cobain when he died. No, but so basically, like I did not think I was gonna like this band. He was like, "Oh, come on, listen to it. I'll listen to it." I didn't think I was gonna like it. I didn't want to like it. But as soon as I heard it, it was like a switch was turned in my head.
You're talking about Nirvana?
Yeah, as soon as I heard Nirvana, it was like just like something clicked in my head, and it was like, wow, this is awesome. I want to get a guitar and I want to start to write songs. It was just right there, like totally changed everything. And I'll name them because they were a pretty punky band. And before I got into like the underground punk rock, I coincidentally I was getting into all these like I guess like punk inspired bands like Soul Asylum and Nirvana. It was just like the radio bands that I was listening to and that I really dug were all like punk influenced. So it was kind of like organic to go from that to like more like underground punk rock. But yeah, it was probably Nirvana for me. How about you?
I mean, as far as like punk rock goes, and I mean I get into all different types of music. Right now I'm really into hip hop, but as far as like rock or punk goes, I mean, when I was growing up, it was when like Offspring was big and like Blink 182 and all that pop punk stuff. So that's what really kind of got me into more of the punk rock genre stuff.
And a lot of people would laugh at that, but I think
I
like,
mean, people laugh. I don't give a shit.
It's like like I mean, dude, like when I got into like Nirvana, it was 1991. I was 11 years old, and it was like nothing I'd ever heard of at the time, you know.
Yeah.
And then from there, you know, I'd get into like Soul Asylum and like Pearl Jam. They were like, you know, bands that were like quote unquote alternative, but they were obviously like punk influenced, you know.
Yeah.
And then honestly, and in '94, like I heard Green Day, and I was like, wow, you know, these guys were like fucking really cool.
Yeah, they were definitely.
And then I got really into that Dookie record, and then I backtracked on like Kerplunk and 1039, and got into a lot of those lookout bands that were coming out in the late '80s, early '90s, like Operation Ivy, and then got into a lot of like the Epitaph stuff, you know, with like the Offspring and Rancid, Pennywise, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, you got to get into it from somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, I think you know, kids in '94, it was like Green Day was a gateway drug, you know. Right. And then what was Blink 182, like 98, 99. And then, you know, 98, 99 is like Blink 182 was the gateway drug in the punk rock, you know. So what about you, Jeff?
I actually was in 10th grade, and I was in homeroom, and this guy Eric, I forgot his last name. He was listening to something because we had Walkmans back then.
Yeah, totally.
And he was listening to something, and he was letting people hear it. And I just wanted to know what he was listening to. And I said, "What is that?" And he goes, "It's Sex Pistols." And I was like, "The fuck?" I was like, "There's a band called the Sex Pistols," and I remember listening to it. Within like 10 seconds, I was just like hooked. And I'm not even really a big Sex Pistols fan, you know, but I just remember hearing it, and again, like hearing like them saying "fuck" like 1,000 times, because I think it was Bodies that was on, which is like, you know, fuck this, fuck that, you know. And I was listening to that, and I was just like so. I don't know, I was just like so like fired up by it. And I was pretty much a, you know, big nerd in school anyway, and I fucking hated being there, and I had a lot of pent up anger. And so anyway, this guy Eric was like, I just told him how much I was into it, and he just turned me on all these great bands and gave me some zines to like look at, and I just started, you know, randomly going to record stores and finding this stuff, and yeah, it was just all started from there.
It's really cool too, because I think with like punk rock, to me, it was always like so much more special when you found out about a band, because there was no radio. It's like you were just like discovering these diamonds in the rough. And I also feel like with underground music in general, you know, with mainstream music, I feel like there's just like a lot of record labels like, oh, give us 2 good songs and the rest could be filler, you know. And then so I think that's why you kind of have the generation now that, you know, they're just buying those 2 songs off fucking iTunes. They don't know the joys of like a whole good album,
right.
You know. Whereas with underground music, like when I got into underground music, I found like I either liked the whole album or generally I either liked the whole album or I didn't really care for the album. And I thought that was really cool about underground music. And I don't think that just goes for punk rock. I think that goes for like, you know, indie rock, hip hop, like just most underground music, because they're not just writing for like, you know, two singles for the radio. Right. You know.
Well, a lot of it has to do with the shows too. I mean, I remember there were these 2 girls I met my junior year in high school, Lisa and Teresa, and I don't remember their last names. I don't know what happened to them, but they were like these like punk chicks that went to my high school, which was like very rare. It was a very conservative high school. And
did you get that 3-way going?
No, not at all. I was a very late
game.
bloomer then. But I remember these girls were like, they were really nice to me, and I couldn't figure out why, because everyone else hated me in high school, and these girls were really cool to me, and I was like, well, this is really cool. And they had all these like band names written on their bags and stuff, and they befriended me, and they were really cool. And the one girl, Teresa, used to buy me weed all the time. Like she would just come by my house and like send me dime bags like once a week and stuff, which I always thought was really nice. And then one time they asked me if I wanted to go to a show, and I'd always heard them talking about going to shows. I'm like, I would love that. So I think I was about 16 years old. And they took me down to, it's not there anymore, but it was a club called The Loft in Baltimore.
Yeah. It's legendary.
Yeah.
People
and
get stabbed there.
Well, it was, listen.
Dude, seriously.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean, I remember going there, and I was so excited because
like
to me, it was like, it was a fucking gigantic shithole. you know, and there was like fights and everything, but it was like so poetic to me, you know. It was like everything I expected and more. And the music was loud and aggressive and shitty, and you know, it was just. And then they took me to the 930 Club, like the old 930 Club on 9th and F Street. And I actually remember one time, and I didn't see it. I was walking down the street with some other, not with them, with some other people I met after they had introduced me to a lot of people, and someone saw Ian MacKaye, and they said, "Yeah, that's Ian," and I missed him, and I was just, again, I'm like 16 years old. I'm like, I just walked down the street with this dude who's probably like one of my fucking idols, you know. And you go in the old 930 Club, and it's just, I'm not, dude. I was like 16. I must have looked like I was 12 because I've never looked my age, and I'm in there drinking at the bar, getting fucking shit faced. No one cared, you know, and had listened to this great music. And for the, you know, it was like the first time in my life, like people were being cool to me, like people were nice, and like you had this bond. It was just like, hey, we're all into this thing that everyone else hates, and we thrive on that. And I love that. And that's one thing we were talking about last week too. Is like there's certain things kids don't have an opportunity to do now, and I almost think that I don't know if that still exists for a lot of kids, because everything's out there. It's not a secret anymore. Like you would go to a show back then. That's how you would find out about a band or a type of music, you know, or a song. But now it's like if you get online, you can find it. It's so easy.
Yeah, totally.
And shirts too, like tour shirts. You get tour shirts back then. It's like you had to go to the show to get the shirt.
Right.
Yeah. Now you don't have to.
Well, back to the Sex Pistols. Like with the Sex Pistols, like for years, like I would say that they were one of those bands. Like, you know, right when I first got into punk rock, they're one of those bands I think that everybody checks out because it's like, you know, punk bands to check out. You know,
right.
Sex Pistols is going to be like on most people's top tens. You know,
yeah.
in your high school lunchroom. You know, all the kids are talking about that shit. But so you know, I got like Nevermind the Bullocks. One of my buddies copied it for me. My buddy Rob. And then, so I had like a copy of it on cassette, and it was a kick-ass album, you know. And then a few years later,
the original piracy.
And then I can remember a few years later, just like thinking, like, you know, that's a really great album, but you know, the Sex Pistols get a lot of credit for only putting out one album,
right? And
then everything else they did is like a live recording or like,
oh, the lives are like horrible,
lost studio tracks. And then there's that Mountain Dew commercial song where it's like you don't know if it's the Sex Pistols or not, but it sure as hell sounds like Johnny Rotten. Yeah,
I never heard that.
You got to look it up. It's pretty crazy. But I mean, like my point is that they only put out that one proper album, and then on top of that, like Sid Vicious didn't even play bass on that album.
Right.
You know. So it's just pretty crazy to think about that. But at the same time, like for years, I looked at it like, oh, they're kind of overrated for that. But then I'll tell you what, when I put on Nevermind the Bullocks nowadays, I'm like, well, this is just a fucking amazing album. You know, it's one album, but it's just an awesome album. Like the production, just everything about it is just. I
should give it a listening. It's been a long time since I've listened to it.
Yeah, listen to it, man.
I remember it just kind of like fell off my listening list. You know, I just moved on to other things, you know.
I recently got a first pressing of that on vinyl, and the record jacket is like yellow instead of pink. It might be like an Italian pressing or something. Mm-hmm. So listening to that again, throwing it on the turntable, it was just like, yeah, man, it's just a really fucking awesome album.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, another punk band, like, are you familiar with D.I.?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Richard Hung Himself.
Or have you heard the song Guns?
I don't know. I don't remember Richard Hung Himself. That's the only one I know from D.I.
It's like, I like guns, guns like me.
Oh, I think I've heard guns. That. Yeah,
they made America free.
I think I do know that one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. Like they, D.I. I've always been a fan of them. If you check out like their, they have a live record, which I think is better than. I like it better than all their studio albums, and I've got a lot of their studio albums. But it was recorded in, I believe, like 92, 93. Mm-hmm. And but by that point, you know, D.I. had already been a band for about a dozen years or so. And then it's just that lineup at that time, I think, were better than, you know, the guys that were playing on their studio albums of the early 80s. And they also had, like, you know, not the best production on those albums.
Right.
This live album, though, they got a really great live recording. And I think they played these songs just, like, tighter and more on point than ever. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's a great D.I. album to check out. And
well, that comes with too, just like after you've been playing for a while, obviously you're going to get tighter and you get better if you're interested in honing your craft.
Yeah, I feel like they also they had different members in the band.
Oh,
too,
they did. Okay.
So it was just like, yeah, like their drummer on that album was like just really ripping it up, and the guitar player. And for that matter, Casey Royer's vocals. It just gotten that much better, and it's crazy though because it's on a live album. They just really like honed in their craft at that point.
I don't know if you guys listen to any metal at all, but there's a documentary called I think it's called Metal in Baghdad or Baghdad.
Oh
Metal.
yeah, I heard
Have you
about
seen
that. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I heard about it.
So the movie's pretty cool. Like they go to Iraq and there's like this metal band, and it's a documentary. And you watch.
There's like
them.
a whole scene there, right?
Well, I mean, the scene is like 10 people because like they have to move like all over the country. There's fucking bombs going off outside. It's a crazy fucking movie. Yeah. And I remember watching it thinking, wow, this is really intense to see like this how these guys are just so passionate about their music. I appreciated that. And then, but I wasn't really a big fan of the music. So like a week ago, I'm just kind of thumbing through a Rolling Stone magazine and there's this thing about this band. I can't remember the fucking name. It's like Askadida or something like that. But if you look it up, just look up Metal in Baghdad or Baghdad Metal, and they'll come up.
It's on Netflix, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. Yeah. So I checked out the new stuff. It's fucking awesome. And I know, I don't know you guys take on metal or anything, but
no,
like
I love metal.
Technically, it's like a really good album. Their drummer's fucking sick. Like they have like they intersperse some really cool like Iraqi music in it. It's very, very interesting. I think it's like it's not. I think it's somewhat complex. I really, really like it a lot. And I was listening. I'm like, wow, it's and they actually live here now. They were apparently there were a lot of death threats or something after that movie, so they got refugee status and were able to come here. So awesome. They live in Brooklyn now. I think in Brooklyn, and they've really like Ministry took them on tour, and they've really been embraced. But it's amazing. Like the one thing I know when I watched that movie. I'm just beyond the music now. The movie was like really intense because you watch this and you see all these people that are there, and a lot of them wearing like Slayer shirts and Slipknot shirts and stuff, and like not a single one of them has anything bad to say about the United States or Americans or anything. And then like in the backdrop, you see all these fucking like war that's going on that we fucking started.
Right.
You know, and it's really fucking depressing, man. You know, when you see that, but at the same time, like when I see these guys and I see like how far they've come, it feels great, man. Like, oh, somebody actually got out of that shit. You know, like they were in such a shit situation, and they made it. But how many people that are still there that have to fucking fight? You know, just to have a regular job or just to have a family. You know, it's just kind of getting back to that whole thing with. What is a terrorist, man? Like, I think it's pretty easy to say that, you know, anyone that was, you know, involved in the initial invasion of Iraq could actually absolutely be considered a terrorist organization. We invaded someoone's land. Mm-hmm. I hate saying we, you know, but it's like, you know,
I gotcha.
You know, this country invaded someone's land. Like, it's a good reminder. I mean, the movie's great just to learn about this band, but I think it's also a good reminder that that we did something that was very at odds with what this country's supposed to be about.
Totally.
Or am I just full of shit?
No, man. No, dude. I definitely got to check that out.
Yeah.
Put that in the queue.
Totally.
What else you got in the queue?
What else I got in the queue? Oh, shit. I don't even remember, dude. I had shit in there like every day. It's like 50 movies long. And I never get to them.
Okay, guys. So I think we're about to wrap it up for tonight. Remember, guys, try to watch Death Wish 3 this week so we can talk about it next week.
I'm going to be at that conference all week.
Okay. Are you going to be here next
I'll be here on Sunday.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, I'll be at that conference all week. Unless I can get a copy of it.
All right, Jared, you try to watch it. It might be on YouTube. If you type in Death Wish 3 full, it might be on YouTube.
Okay.
Just put it on your phone or something. Watch it on your plane ride.
Like,
you know, maybe that's what I'll do. What I'll do is...
Jeff's already seen it, but I'm going to watch it over again.
Well, yeah.
You know, it's just that awesome.
I'm going to see it. I'm going to remind me also to bring that song that I did with the samples from it. It's pretty good.
Definitely. Sounds like a plan.
But I'm also going to be at that marijuana investment conference, so maybe I should watch it high. It'd be really good.
Yeah, man.
That sounds good too. Totally. Okay, guys. Well, good night. Talk to you soon.
What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time. Take back the power. What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time. Take back the power. What you gonna do when they show up in black suits on your street in army boots? And they're to silence you. discuss. Say you don't look like one of us. We're gonna turn. Now the court has been adjourned, and the lessons that you've learned are not as many as the bridges burn. We don't need to run and hide. We won't be pushed off to the side. What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time to get back the power. What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower? It's our time to take back the power. We don't need to run and hide. We won't be pushed off to the side. What's your plan for tomorrow? Are you a leader or will you follow? Are you a fighter or will you cower?